Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to Tit-Bits on Business and Finance with me. The biggest fallout of India's giant NPA crisis, according to us, has been colossal destruction of national wealth. And this destruction takes place in a number of ways. For example, a figure says that in the last 15 years, the government has pumped in about 10 lakh crores of additional funds in order to recapitalize bankrupt public sector banks. That's the kind of money, 10 lakh crores, which has gone into banks merely in the past 15 years. And what is their market valuation today? Just 4 lakh crores. 6 lakh crores worth of capitalization gone down the drain. Just in the last 5 years, the government has pumped in 3.5 lakh crores by way of additional capitalization in public sector banks, and we see no improvement to it whatsoever. That's huge destruction of public wealth. It also manifests in the way any NPA account gets settled. A company that goes sick because of an NPA, and whether it is taken over by another entity or whether it is liquidated, in either case, we witness destruction of national wealth. And there are lots of such cases. Take the case of Jet Airways. Jet Airways used to be India's largest airline. It had over 123 airplanes. And today, it's a stranded company. It's a closed company, according to us. It has had a takeover for namesake, as against bank loans of 11,345 crores given to Jet Airways. The amount received on account of takeover by banks is a mere 1,000 crores. And that too is being paid over a period of 5 years. The takeover entity is also giving banks a 10% equity stake in Jet Airways. But a 10% equity stake in a worthless entity itself is worthless. That's the kind of national wealth getting lost because Jet Airways went NPA, it went belly up. It has resulted in closure of a national airline. It has resulted in lots of jobs being lost. It has resulted in planes being scrapped, and it has resulted in loss of a tax-paying entity for the government of India. A huge national loss, according to us. Or take the case of Bharti Shipyard. Bharti Shipyard used to be India's finest shipyard with decades of engineering experience and expertise. It has collapsed. It could not be salvaged or saved. That happened, of course, because of an extremely greedy ARC trying to resort to all kinds of means. But the fact is, the company could not be salvaged. It has collapsed. And with Bharti collapsing, India's priceless shipyard has gone to the dogs. Its priceless engineering skills are lost forever. And plant and machinery is now being junked. It is being scrapped. India has lost one of its finest shipyards because of the closure of Bharti Shipyard. That's loss of a huge national asset today, which has gone to the vultures for being junked, for being scrapped, and for being sold. Or take the case of DHFL. The company has been taken over by the Pyramids by paying 38,250 crores. Of course, most of it is being paid over a 10-year period. But even with that payment, lenders are taking a over 60% haircut. And that includes thousands of bondholders who are lured into investing in DHFL on account of AAA rating, which was wrongly given by rating agencies. By virtue of this takeover, by virtue of this haircut of over 60%, there is, of course, a huge loss of public money and also householder savings, national wealth loss, according to us. That's been the case of Alok Industries also. Alok Industries has had bank loan exposure of 30,000 crores and it got taken over for a mere 5,050 crores. 25,000 crores of public money written off by banks given to a company called Alok Industries. These are all instances where, to us, there has been loss of national wealth on a very large scale. Normally, when loans are given by banks, they result in buildup of assets. They result in generation of wealth. It can be a case of a steel plant being built by a bank loan. It may be a cement plant. It may be a telecom company. It may be a pharma unit. It may be a fertilizer plant. It may be roads. It may be ports. It may be bridges. It may be infrastructure. Bank loans result in the buildup of assets. These assets may be owned by private entities, but they belong to India as a nation. And these very assets give rise to production, they give rise to consumption, they give rise to growth in the country, they give jobs, they give taxes to the government, whether by way of indirect taxes or direct taxes, and they also help to build infrastructure in the country. Depending on the size of the unit, depending on the size of the project financed by the bank loan, it also results in lots of spin-off and multiplier benefits, such that vendors, suppliers, and ancillary units associated with these units, they also grow in the process. They also build their assets. Even in the case of individual housing loans, real estate of the country gets built. After all, with these housing loans, we individuals buy our offices and residential premises. That adds to India's real estate base. Thus, loans are expected to build national assets. And in this process, banks play a very crucial role. They play the role of an intermediary. They aggregate individual savings and channelize them into the buildup of these national assets. Unfortunately, in India, we are seeing the reverse happening. Public savings are given by us to public sector banks which are owned by the government, and they are in the control of the Neta, they are in the control of the Babu. They treat these banks as their personal fiefdom, and then to aid them, they got weak and extremely complacent and compliant bankers. It results in loans on account of corruption, cronism, frauds, etc. And in the process, the most undeserving ones get the loans. They are the ones who are close to the system, and the system gives them the loans, despite the fact that the loans go bad and national wealth is being destroyed. That explains why the Anil Ambani group was given loans for years together, and what we are seeing today is perhaps the bubble has burst and we are witnessing giant losses to the banking system, to the nation in the process. Instead of building wealth in India on account of bank loans, what we have seen is it has been destroying wealth to a large extent. The total NPAs in the country today exceed 15 lakh crores in reality. And that is the kind of national wealth at danger. In India, what we have seen in the process is that banks who are supposed to be the watchdogs of public savings and the buildup of national assets have just participated in the loot of these national assets, very often because of corruption or incompetence or negligence or for personal gains. None of which is pardonable, because after all, they were in charge of India's savings and they were the ones who were supposed to intermediate the buildup of India's national assets. Apart from such huge loss of national assets taking place, a lot of other toxic side effects have come because of these kind of loans that were given, which destroyed our wealth. The first one, of course, is because of this kind of lending today, banks in India are, as Abhijit Banerjee says, half-dead zombie banks. They are bankrupt. They do not have the means to lend. They don't have the resources to lend. And because of that, India's GDP growth has suffered. It has been suffering. The second impact, of course, is that with this being the condition of banks, getting loans has become extremely difficult. And even the most deserving ones today are unable to get loans from the banking system, because of which, again, growth has been suffering. With loans being witnessed because of frauds and corruption, with willful defaults coming to the fore, with giant frauds taking place, what has also happened is the laws have been made much more tougher. The new laws that come and the existing laws, they tend to treat all borrowers as being fraudulent in nature. Laws have become much tougher. They have become much more difficult and expensive to comply. And that has again given a setback to growth. If compliance becomes difficult for everybody, if it becomes expensive, if penalties and prosecution take place for no reason, then of course the buildup of enterprises, the buildup of wealth in the country suffers. And that's been the other toxic side effect because of this destruction of national wealth. Because of fraud, because of unjust enrichment, thousands of crores have been siphoned away, or rather lakhs of crores have been siphoned away by these fraudsters and willful defaulters. They've done it by way of very smart siphoning of money, diversion of money, money laundering, Benami assets being owned. And so sophisticated and planned it has been in many cases that the law is finding it very difficult to recover all that money which has been drained out of the system. And of course, finally what we are seeing is that these kind of instances of lending and loss of national assets have only set bad precedents, perhaps inspiring other budding fraudsters to try the same trick. The fact of the matter is, we have lost national wealth in a big way. But the fact also is that sadly, this continues in some way or the other. And while all this was happening, one entity which could have prevented it or minimized it would have been courts. Courts could have helped in minimizing the national loss either by resolving NPA accounts as fast as possible and also by punishing the fraudsters at the immediate possible. Sadly, neither has happened. NPA accounts don't get resolved in time, and fraudsters and willful defaulters also do not get punished, resulting in encouragement and continuance of what we have witnessed: loot and scoot, loss and destruction of national wealth. And unless this is not handled and resolved, you're going to witness India's growth suffer year after year. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
Hello everyone. HW News English is 2 years old now. When we started this venture, we promised ourselves one thing, that news should remain free, because right to know is the right of every Indian. But to keep news free for everyone, we need support from some of you. And thus we have rolled out membership on our YouTube channel HW News English. But mind you, the membership is completely voluntary. The programs that we were doing earlier, that we are doing now, will continue to remain free. First level is a basic level. Here, you can be our supporter by paying Rs 199 per month. This membership gives you certain perks and benefits. The perks include unique badges in front of your name, a live show from Mr. Sujit Nair and from Mr. Akhilesh Bhargava per month for our members. You can also vote in some exclusive members-only polls. Now the second level is Super Supporter. Here you can be our Super Supporter by paying Rs 3,999 per month. This membership will include every perk that comes with basic level. Additionally, our Super Supporters can be a part of a WhatsApp group where we can have discussions and suggestions on various topics. The second perk includes a gift pack with our merchandise. And the third perk is a Google Meet with Mr. Sujit Nair, where you can join the meet and ask your questions to Mr. Nair face to face. Lastly, if you like, we would give a shout out to our super supporters in our programs. So, hope to see you soon with our badges.